This podcast is hardly focused.
The French.
The film Thunderbolts, now it's been out for 3 days. And Marvel and Disney have jointly decided that 3 days is long enough time to spoil the big thing that people have been questioning ever since this movie, not since the movie was announced, but since the updated logo was revealed a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the film's title is Thunderbolts, but it has an asterisk in it. And people wondering for a long time, why the asterisk? What does that mean? Now people were, myself included, thinking of two possibilities here. A, it has something to do with Thunderbolt, the character Thunderbolt, aka Thaddeus Ross, who depicted in the previous Marvel film, Captain America: Brave New World, as the president. He was portrayed by Harrison Ford, and his character Thunderbolt. So you'd think, okay, it has something to do with his character. Or they're calling themselves the Thunderbolts, but they're going to have like a different name. Mm-hmm. And we will find out in the movie what their real moniker is. And that's exactly what happens at the end of the film. They are a group of ragtag anti-heroes that include the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, Elena Belova, who is one of the Black Widows, her father, Red Guardian. You've got U.S. Agent, who was initially going to be the successor to Steve Rogers' Captain America before he killed someone in cold blood in broad daylight and had the title stripped. And you also have Ghost, and then you have, for like all of 5 seconds, Taskmaster. And then they are revealed at the end of the film as the new Avengers. And that is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, the Countess Allegra Valentina de Fontaine. She reveals that she has put them together as the new Avengers, because they're at the time there are no Avengers. The Avengers are done. They have broken up.
Mm-hmm.
And this group that just saved the day in Manhattan, because Acc, do you remember 9/11?
I'm familiar with it, yeah.
9/11.
Remember how destructive that was?
Vaguely.
Like, never mind 2 planes flying into buildings, but then those buildings then collapse and cause the collapse of other buildings in the area, and just
right.
The amount of damage that was done and cleanup that was necessary.
Now you're talking about the 9/11 time where that happened, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And then you have the Marvel.
We're talking about the 9/11 where the planes hit the towers, that 9/11?
That 9/11, yes.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Correct. In the year of our Lord, 2001, that 9/11.
Legendary basketball great Michael Jordan is getting ready to return to the game he loves today, Tuesday, September 11th, 2001.
That's from the Today Show. That was,
oh, my God.
That was Matt Lauer. Respected human being, Matt Lauer. Never did a bad thing in his life, Matt Lauer. That Matt Lauer.
Oh, yeah.
During the, I believe it was the 7 a.m. hour, or maybe the 8 a.m. hour of the Today Show, on what was a brilliantly blue and crisp Tuesday morning in 2001, September 2001. But anyway, you remember all that when like how long it took to clean up all that?
Yes.
And now we shift to, and I know it's a fucking movie, and I know it's a comic book, but we shift to Earth 616, where things like this seem to happen every day in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And it all seems to be cleaned up and fixed in quick time.
Mm-hmm.
And no one bats an eyelash. And that's exactly what happens in the climax of Thunderbolts. There, shit goes down, things are destroyed, and our heroes save the day. Our anti-heroes save the day.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk about the pieces of Earth that have been flung around, and the buildings that have been destroyed, and the vehicles that have been destroyed, and the human lives that, there was no loss of human life. But that's ultimately why they are given the mantle, the New Avengers. But that is like supposed to be the big spoiler in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end, when they're showing the end credits, they show, it says Thunderbolts on the screen, and then that is torn off like a sheet of paper, and underneath it says the New Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So we're led to believe, okay, cool. So the film is actually called The New Avengers.
Right.
And that Thunderbolts was merely a placeholder.
Right.
And I think to myself while I'm sitting in the theater,
what a wonderful world.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to do it. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool. So like when the movie comes out on demand, they're probably going to like market it as the New Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Marvel instead said, nah, you know what? The movie's been out for 3 days. That's long enough. If you didn't make time to see it between Thursday evening and Monday morning, if you didn't see it opening weekend, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I guess I see where their logic is. The people who are most likely to be like super hardcore Marvel fans probably are the type that went to the opening weekend, but not necessarily.
Huh.
Like, I'm sure there are people who would have liked to, but couldn't for whatever reason, or had to postpone it a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks.
It really does. And I know you're not into the Marvel films like I am,
Mm-hmm.
but just generally speaking, like I'm sure that doesn't resonate too well with you, Acc.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I've hated for a while now that like the rule is if you don't want spoilers, get off the internet, because people will just start talking about something right away, like on social media, and it'll just pop up on your timeline. And I'm like, you can't wait 48 hours, like it is just deeply annoying and upsetting that people feel so like it's unfair for me to not be able to blast this spoiler to everyone that I know immediately. It's your fault if I can't do that.
We were talking about The Pit and how I had to avoid threads.
Yeah.
Because for a time, and it still shows up from time to time now that the season's over, but just because just talking about the show now every Thursday night at the episode would drop at 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
By 10 p.m., I needed to get off that platform and make sure I was watching the episode and finishing it, because otherwise,
yeah,
I'd be even just going by reactions. That's enough for me to be like, all right, something big has gone down.
Right.
And I need to, it's going to be absolute hell trying to avoid it. When The Last of Us Part 2 came out, the game came out in 2020, avoiding the internet, and that was for several weeks.
Yeah.
Because it leaked, the game leaked, and just trying to avoid spoilers there. And somehow I managed to do it. But then the show, episode 2, same deal. If you didn't watch episode 2 of The Last of Us season 2, then if you didn't watch it immediately when it became available, when it aired, you were risking having it spoiled for you, because that's just the age in which we live now. And Marvel, I don't know if they're giving into it or I don't know what the mindset is behind waiting only 3 days to reveal the actual name of the film, but way too early, man. Way too early.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was like,
I agree.
If it was like next Monday, quite honestly, if it was like a week from now, I think that would be fine, because then it's like, okay, that's 2 weekends. Time is starting to go by here where like you kind of running out of excuses to see it. Like 2 weeks might still be too soon, but I think it's the absolute bare minimum. I felt this way with, going into the film, just saying like, I got to see it this weekend, because otherwise it's going to get spoiled for me. But even seeing, like, talked about earlier in the episode, seeing Spider-Man No Way Home. And I saw that like Thursday, and it was like the midnight release of it, because I knew there's going to be some like shit that goes down in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to see it tonight, because if I don't, that's going to be spoiled immediately. And sure enough, it was.
Yeah.
And not by Marvel, but by the fans. But like shit indeed went down in that movie. And I'm glad I saw it when I did.
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw Thunderbolts when I did, because Marvel's just saying like, hey, happy Monday to all y'all. And the movie's actually called The New Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been waiting several months to know why there is an asterisk in Thunderbolts, it's because it's called The New Avengers.
Right.
Okay, so the first reason is genius marketing by Marvel to throw an asterisk up there and say this probably isn't the final name of the film.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to call it something else, but what you are getting is the placeholder title, and I feel like you can only do that once.
Yeah, that's true.
You can only do it once, and if this is the one time. Marvel's been hit or miss with their films since Endgame came out.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Thunderbolts was great, man. I really liked it.
Good.
And I think that Florence Pugh could be like here's my hot take. I think she could be the new Robert Downey Jr. of the franchise. She could be leading it.
And Robert Downey Jr., who is still in the franchise, is going to be the new something else.
You're correct. It's Doctor Doom. but he is. I mean, he's not Tony Stark. He's not Iron Man. He's not leading the group here. Now they're trying to make Sam Wilson. They're trying to make Anthony Mackie's character Sam Wilson, because he is now Captain America, to be the new leader, or they're going to make Sebastian Stan, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, be the leader of the New Avengers. I do think we could get Civil War 2. That could very well be a storyline for a future Marvel film, where we do, if it's not shown in the forthcoming Avengers films, then we could see these two warring factions. Because that's at in the post-credit scene of Thunderbolts / The New Avengers, which was actually filmed. It's a scene that's filmed for Doomsday, which I think is actually really cool. So we actually technically saw a clip from Avengers Doomsday as the post-credit scene. It's established that Sam Wilson is trying to trademark the Avengers because he doesn't like the fact that another group just became the Avengers. So we could have two groups called the Avengers, and they could be fighting Civil War 2.
Interesting. See, one issue I've run into, and when you asked me before we started if I was going to see this movie, is every day that goes by where I don't begin the process of watching the entire Marvel franchise to date, the task becomes more impossible and more unlikely that I'll ever do it. Because I did see someone online ask straight up, what's the homework for this movie? And the responses were like, well, you definitely have to have seen Falcon and Winter Soldier.
No.
Definitely have to have seen Ant-Man and the Wasp. Definitely, there's this, people are saying like these are all the media that if you haven't consumed, you won't understand the movie. And I'm just like, and each one of those, if you say, okay, so say I want to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, what do I need to watch to understand that?
Right.
Keeping in mind that my baseline of Marvel is basically nothing. Like it would be going back and watching 15 years of content in order to have the minimum appreciation for anything you just said about Civil War 2.
And I'm not even familiar with, I know there is a Civil War 2 comic series.
Yeah.
But I'm just going by, okay, they did a Civil War comic series several years ago, and then there is a sequel to it. Well, the Marvel films more often than not just kind of go by things in name only. Mm-hmm. So it just, there's validation that you could do a Civil War 2 just because it already is an existing property in print form.
Right.
But what I liked about Thunderbolts, it is fascinating you say that, because what I appreciated about Thunderbolts is that the script was done in a way that you actually didn't need to see any of that going into it. Would it help?
Okay.
Sure. If you don't see any of it, there are throwaway lines about how Taskmaster, spoilers, Taskmaster gets killed the second she shows up.
Mm-hmm.
But she's in Black Widow. I didn't see Black Widow.
Okay.
I love that character. I had actually been saying for years, oh, it'd be cool if we had a Black Widow movie. We finally got one during the pandemic, and I didn't see it. It's one of the few it's one of the few MCU films I have yet to see. I didn't see it. I'm familiar with all the characters in it, though. And, they make a line just about what Taskmaster did in Budapest in the Black Widow film. Okay, cool. So you know that she did something in Budapest. All right, that's all I needed to know. And then they make another line about U.S. agent's backstory. Oh, weren't you stripped of the Captain America title because you killed someone in broad daylight? And that's why you're U.S. agent now? All right, cool. Well, you just summed up Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Not entirely, but like a big reason why like this character exists. Like they did a very good job of kind of summing the important things up in one or two lines about those characters, which fans, based on like what I was seeing in various Reddit threads, were very appreciative of. But to your point, then you have a movie like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which requires you to have seen all of WandaVision, which was a great show, and Loki as well, to understand the concept of the multiverse. And it's like, all right, even Kevin Feige now has said, like, even quite recently, like in the past week, he has said, like, we are going to now make it so you don't need to do homework to see our movies.
Right.
I think they did fumble at one point, especially when during the pandemic, the Disney Plus shows became more prevalent, that it all of a sudden became all these unnecessary tie-ins that then built up to underwhelming movies. Right. Because Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it's good. It's not great. And you sure as fuck even didn't need a whole series leading up to it. Same with Brave New World. You didn't need Falcon and the Winter Soldier to lead up to that. So Thunderbolts, even though there are things that have established it to make it what it is, you can actually go into it blind. It is entirely possible to go into it blind.
Okay.
So, Acc, you're more than welcome to do that, even though I've really just spoiled everything about it. So.
Well, I'm still probably not going to. Okay. I feel like Mr. Burns now when he goes, are you going to cut that check to the children's orphanage? Yes, when pigs fly. And then they see one fly overhead and he goes, well, I'd still rather not do it.
Another thing I was going to bring up about Thunderbolts too. So we talked about how they so the marketing behind it to get people's attention and say that, okay, this is going to be a temporary title. So you have that, and it's genius marketing. The other bit of genius marketing is that what people seem to be forgetting here is that on May 2nd, 2025, a film was scheduled to come out called Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Right. And the actor who played Kang, Jonathan Majors, decided
he ain't
that
playing Kang no more.
He ain't gonna be doing much of anything. His career is in the gutter. He did irreparable damage to his career as it was taking off because he decided beating women was more lucrative. And Marvel and Disney, right to drop him, right to drop the Kang storyline because it wasn't going anywhere. It was boring as fuck. It was not engaging, and I think would have caused more harm than good to an already not floundering. I don't know how you call it a franchise, but just
kind of floundering. That again, as someone who hasn't seen it, mostly what I'd heard is that Avengers Endgame was a phenomenal stopping point, and by not stopping there and trying to keep the steam rolling, just wasn't working. Right, they were just really struggling.
Yeah, and you have the occasional hit, and I hate saying this, but it's like the occasional hit because Guardians Volume 3 was fantastic, Spider-Man 3 was fantastic, Thunderbolts is great. But then some of the other ones are just like, middling to poor. And it's unfortunate, but it's also, it is oversaturation and a lack of direction. And it didn't help that, what happened with Jonathan Majors happened, but in the end, it could have saved them. And we're kind of doing a little bit of fan service and maybe a little bit of desperation by bringing back Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers. But I mean, if it works, if this is, the formula here, I mean, it even seems like we're setting ourselves up for potential success based on how Thunderbolts played out. The other complaint about spoilers is Thunderbolts, like the end credits.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't paying attention during the credits, I actually did pay attention because I heard at one point in during the movie, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, were they playing Pony by Genuine? And when the music credits came up, I had to check, and sure enough, they did. But I was so focused on that, I did not notice that theme from Fantastic Four was also listed in the credits because it plays in the following scene, the post-credit scene.
That's funny.
When the now new Avengers are watching the Fantastic Four's ship arrive in their universe. Which sets up the subsequent film, the one that's coming out in July, which is Fantastic Four First Steps, which now the diehard nerds are saying, oh, so we know how that movie's going to end. It's going to end with the Fantastic Four leaving their universe and coming into ours, quote unquote.
Right. Well, but also, like, what did you think? They're just going to keep this group of people, like, separated from everyone else.
Yeah, like the movie obviously very, very obviously takes place in either the 60s or a universe kind of like Fallout where everything just kind of stopped evolving culturally after the 60s, even though it could be the future. So like, regardless of what happens, things are going to become contemporary somehow for them.
Right.
But no, people are still thinking like they spoiled their own movie. They did kind of spoil the post-credit scene, and I don't know if that was just like if there's some contractual thing or what, where they say like, we have to put this in the credits. We cannot put it anywhere else. We are just going to.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. Yes. Like legally, this is our only option here. We can't not credit it.
Like
these are the credits.
Like a guild rule. It's always a guild. Something about the Screen Actors Guild or one of the various guilds, one of the various unions has to have some stipulation in there, and they just their hands were tied.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure they argued about it. I'm sure they tried to find workarounds. And at the end of the day, just said, look, we'll just put it in there and people are going to see it and they're going to get all worked up about it. What's the worst possible thing we could do? Wait 3 days to change the name of Thunderbolts to its actual title?